TV series come and go. It's tough to make a hit show that captures audiences' attention for very many seasons. But there's one show that has found the secret to success. The Simpsons have been a tentpole of American TV for decades. This animated comedy is the longest-running scripted TV show of all time. The show is a satirical portrait of a working-class family in the fictional city of Springfield. If you're a fan of the series, you know the Simpson family adventures have covered almost every facet of life. When a show runs for 32 years and amasses more than 700 episodes, the storylines are likely to strike a topical chord or two. Although sometimes their escapades and parodies have done more than that. Sometimes it feels like the writers may have a crystal ball looking into the future. Keep watching as we examine 18 times predictions from The Simpsons came true. Discovery of a Three-Eyed Fish, Season 2, Episode 4. In the early 90s, Bart is fishing near the Springfield power plant. At the end of his rod, he pulls up a three-eyed fish. The orange anomaly makes the news in the local Springfield papers. The fish is named Blinky, and he makes many more appearances throughout the show. Blinky becomes a kind of unofficial mascot to Springfield. More than 2 decades later, a real three-eyed fish was caught in Argentina. Very much in Simpsons fashion, it seems the Argentinian reservoir too was polluted with nuclear waste. Michelangelo's David Wears Clothes, Season 2, Episode 9. When Springfield unveils their own copy of Michelangelo's famous statue of David, the town is outraged. Many folks find the work of art to be indecent in its nudity. A pair of jeans is added to the statue. In 2016, this bit of satire came true. In Russia, there was a vote to determine if their version of the statue was obscene. Before too long, the Russian David may wear his own pair of pants. Tigers Attack Magicians, Season 5, Episode 10. Pretty much all celebrities get treatment on The Simpsons. The show has even parodied the famous magic act of Siegfried and Roy, which involved the use of white tigers. During their performance, their wild beauty loses its temper and the two are attacked. In a true bit of foreshadowing, in 2003, this happened. During one of their shows, the tiger viciously mauled Roy. The magician received severe injuries. The Beatles respond to fan mail. Season 2, Episode 18. The Simpsons depict the Beatles as Ringo Starr in his study amidst a mountain of fan mail. The drummer is appreciatively answering the letters that have backlogged over the years. Better late than never. It seems something like this really did happen. 2 Beatles fans sent mail to Paul McCartney. However, the letter was lost and never made it to the band. It was discovered 50 years later and finally found its way into the hands of McCartney. In 2013, he sent a reply to the 2 loyal fans. Not all these predictions will be happy stories like this. The next one is a real doozy. But before we move on, if you're enjoying this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe to Trender if you haven't already. Horse Meat for Lunch, Season 5, Episode 19. In an attempt to cut costs, Springfield Elementary used less than grade A beef in the student lunches. The crotchety lunch lady, Doris, was using stomach-turning horse meat to feed the students. Apparently, this wasn't limited to TV comedy. In 2013, a company stood trial in Paris. They claimed to be selling pure beef hamburger patties, but it was discovered the food contained horse meat. Autocorrect Makes Mistakes, Season 6, Episode 8. Long before the iPhone existed, Apple created the Newton. The Newton was supposed to be a cutting-edge device that could, among other things, translate handwriting. The feature was wholly underwhelming and didn't work well. Naturally, The Simpsons parodied it. The school bullies jot the message, "Beat up Martin." Instead, the woeful device translates it as "Eat up Martha." Apparently, this joke made an impact on Apple. The engineer of iOS cited this episode of The Simpsons as an inspiration to work the kinks out of the keyboard and autocorrect for future phones. Early Smartwatch Ideas, Season 6, Episode 19. This wasn't the only prediction The Simpsons would make from Apple. In a 1995 episode, they introduced a piece of tech in the form of a wristwatch. This watch has quite a few features, including the ability to work as a phone. More than 20 years later, the tech company would release the popular Apple Watch. Animating the Shard, Season 6, Episode 19. In an episode where Lisa takes a trip to London, a keen eye will notice something on the skyline. Just behind the Tower of London is a gray, needle-shaped skyscraper that bears a passing resemblance to the Shard. However, at this point, the Shard didn't exist. The iconic building didn't begin construction until 14 years later, in 2009. It's even in the same location. Curious. Librarian Robots, Season 6, Episode 19. This episode takes place in the Simpsons version of the future. Quite a bit has changed. When Lisa takes a trip to the library, we see the staff has been replaced by librarian robots. 20 years later, the robotics department at the University of Aberystwyth unveiled a new robot prototype. Their design was a walking, operating librarian. Nicknamed Hugh, the robot could lead students to the shelf of their requested books. The God particle. The Simpsons have more than technological premonitions. They were also close with a scientific breakthrough. Working on an invention, Homer is deep in thought on a complex equation drawn on a blackboard. After taking a close look at the equation, the physicist Dr. Simon Singh pointed out the show was strangely close to a scientific solution. It was the Higgs boson or God particle equation. In 2013, researchers discovered proof of the Higgs boson. Ebola outbreak, Season 9, Episode 3. 17 years before it happened, The Simpsons brought attention to the Ebola virus. When Bart is sick in bed, Marge gives him a book called Curious George and the Ebola Virus. It was strange to bring attention to this as it wasn't big news when it aired in the 90s. But a few years later, the Ebola virus was responsible for killing several hundred people in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda. Disney acquires 20th Century Fox. In a 1998 episode, Homer is working on a movie idea with Ron Howard and Brian Grazer. When Homer arrives on the set to pitch the script, a sign on the lot reads 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Co. Though it was in jest at the time, in 2017, it came true. Disney acquired 20th Century Fox as part of a deal worth more than $52 billion. Part of the deal even included all the rights to The Simpsons. Tomaco Fruit, Season 11, Episode 5. This is one case where The Simpsons were directly responsible for the prediction. Using his knowledge from working at a nuclear power plant, Homer crossbreeds two plants. His choice is the tomato and tobacco. The result is the addictive tomaco fruit. Longtime Simpsons fan Rob Bauer put this crossbreed to the test. In 2003, he created a real tomaco. The writers for The Simpsons were dazzled. They brought Bauer to the studios so they could try the fruit for themselves. Voting Machine Error, Season 20, Episode 4. In 2008, The Simpsons did their own spoof on the general election. Homer visits the booth to cast his vote. When he attempts to vote for Barack Obama, the machine overrides his choice to John McCain. 4 years later, this happened. A faulty machine in a Pennsylvania district was automatically overriding the votes and selecting Mitt Romney. The United States takes gold in curling, Season 21, Episode 12. In a 2010 episode, Marge and Homer find themselves on the Olympic curling team in Vancouver. In a come-from-behind victory, The Simpsons help propel the U.S. over Sweden to take home the gold. 8 years later, in the 2018 Winter Olympics, the U.S. men's team had a similar win. In a massive upset, the U.S. came from behind and beat the betting favorite Sweden to win gold. Future Nobel Prize winner, Season 22, Episode 1. A group of Springfield's brightest minds enter a betting pool to determine the next Nobel Prize winner. On the betting cards of Martin, Lisa, Database, and Milhouse, one of the names listed is Bengt Holmstrom. 6 years later, in 2016, Holmstrom, the famed economist, took home the prize. Lady Gaga plays the Super Bowl, Season 23, Episode 22. A full 5 years before Lady Gaga dazzled the halftime of Super Bowl 51, The Simpsons called it. What's more, even some of the aerial acrobatics she performed were similar to what The Simpsons predicted. If only they could have predicted the score, too. Donald Trump as President, Season 11, Episode 17. This is among the most famous of The Simpsons' many predictions. For a show that has gotten so much right, it only makes sense they could also guess the future U.S. president. In another episode that takes a look into the future, Lisa has become the president. However, she reveals her predecessor was Donald Trump. So what do you think? Is The Simpsons one of the best shows of all time? What do you think will be their next premonition? Let us know in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like. And subscribe to Trender if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.